here I am. I was fairly energetic and fairly, young and fairly athletic, and I had this. So I was really putting in all my strength to pull it out, like that. And then Swami was absolutely non-perturbed. He was not even bothered about what is happening down there. He's looking around, and then. Used to call me flute boy, so I really consider it a privilege to call myself a flute boy too. I really don't want to be known with my actual name, so I'd rather be known as flute boy. So I had the opportunity to sit in the front line, right in front of Swami's throne. Right, I mean, Swami would climb up. There's this. Wooden platform, and then Swami would have one step to climb up to, and then get onto the throne to sit on the chair. Right, as he walks out from the interview room into the hall, into the bhajan hall. That's basically how it is placed in the bhajan hall, right? So I was fortunate to be seated. In fact, we had these permanent places for each one of us. The first two places are for the who would be literally leaning on the main door leading to the bhajan hall from the interview room. Then I was the third person sitting next to them. So I was right in front of Swami. I mean, if I was sitting, and I would be right in front of Swami's throne. So that's the position I was sitting in. And then that particular evening, Swami actually completed the interviews for the devotees, and then even before the bhajans started, Swami walked into the interview room. As soon as he walked in, he just stood quietly, in his own majestic way, and he just stood there with his hands folded behind. It was very close, hardly a minute for the bhajans to start, in the time. But as soon as Swami walked in, there was pin drop silence. And then everybody was looking at Swami, admiring his presence. And Swami was also very casually looking at everybody, looking at the devotees seated behind, the lady devotees. Of course, only the students would sit amongst the men in the bhajan hall in those days. And so he was looking at the students behind. And then I took that as an opportunity, because Swami was standing right in front of me at that point of time. Right? I mean, so as soon as he walked in, he was just standing there. So I was there in front of him, seated. So I took that as an opportunity to press his feet very softly. So I placed my hands on his feet, and then I was pressing his feet very softly. Swami didn't pay attention to it. And then it was time for the bhajans to start. The clock went off. Swami said, "Start." So the harmonium person put the Shruti, the scale, and then everybody started singing Om, and with their eyes closed. Since I was actually pressing Swami's feet, I was still continuing to do that. I didn't want to lose that chance, obviously. And I was looking up at Swami as I was doing it, because I didn't know if Swami would want to leave or go up to the throne or to the chair and sit down there. So I was saying Om, but I was looking at Swami like that, while all others were closing their eyes and chanting very sincerely. I was singing Omkar. Then immediately something happened. Swami actually bent down very close to my ear and said, "The very embodiment of Omkara is standing right in front, and look at this world. They're all blind. They have closed their eyes in front of God, on God. They have closed their eyes on God, and they are singing Omkar. Omkara Swarupame Kalledutuga Undaga కళ్ళు మూసుకుని బతుకుతున్నారు ఈ జీవులు." It's a simple but very heavy statement, and of course I was too young to even understand what it meant. Even now I understand, but he's the very embodiment of Omkara, that we really don't realize. So I mean, he's the very Omkara Swarupa. He's the very Vishwatma, and we hardly realize that. We really don't. And That was one simple thing, and many such very, very nice, tiny little bit simple experiences that he had given me in Bhajan Hall. Especially one other is when similarly he was standing right there on another day. He was standing there, and then those days the mic, the system, I don't know what it's called, the mixer. The mixer was not in the same place where it is right now. It was actually a very small amplifier, not even a mixer. There was no mixer, just an amplifier, a PA system, with which our Prasad Rao Garu, the sound engineer, he would sit on the other, behind the other door, which means when you actually enter into the bhajan hall from the interview room, on the left hand side, you have the tablis sitting, right, leaning to the door. On the right side, there is another door, and behind that door, there is a small little, about 2 square feet kind of a place. He would squeeze himself into that corner, and he would have this PA system in front of him. And so the wires, the cables from that PA system would run across. And because he wanted to kind of keep moving them around, he would not place them under the the wooden structure below the throne, but he would actually place all the cables running across, and they would be seen around, so because he keeps changing them, he used to keep changing them all the time. And so because of that, what used to happen is the cables were seen, not just seen, but they would, sometimes he come in the way of boys and things like that. So one such occasion where I was sitting, the cables were running across, and as Swami came and stood there, as soon as the interview was over, I sat there and I saw Swami coming by. Then I quickly took out my, I used to actually have a small flute bag. I used to carry about 5 or 6 flutes required for the bhajan playing. I took out my flute bag, and then I covered the cable so that Swami doesn't need to, stamp the cables, Our foolish thoughts, Swami might trip, that's a kind of foolish thought I had, and so I put it there. But Swami saw me doing all that as he walked in. He said, take it out, and then I took it out. So Swami came, stood there, stood very close to the cables. I was worried, I was looking there, and then Swami held one of the cables with his big toe and the middle toe of his right foot. Okay, and the cable was like that in the middle of the 2 toes, the big toe and the middle toe, right? And I thought it got stuck. I was looking at all that. I thought, oh my God, it got stuck, and if Swami moves one more step, Swami might trip. That was a thought that was there, and then so I tried to take it out quickly. Now, I tried softly so that I don't disturb Swami as such, because Swami is there standing and then looking at, all the devotees. I didn't want to really disturb or create a scenario, so scene there. So I tried to slowly move it. I couldn't move the cable out of his grip, the grip that he had. Then I tried slowly, a little more harder. It didn't move. And then I tried both with my hands. Imagine, I actually held the cable on both sides. Swami's foot was like this, one hand this side, one hand this side. I tried to pull it with all my strength. Swami was just holding, very casually between the 2 toes. Now, come on, imagine this. How much of a strength a normal human can have between the toes? If it is hand or a grip, in your palm, probably you are very strong, you can probably resist it. But between 2 toes, how much of strength you can have? And here I am, I was fairly energetic and fairly, young, and I was fairly athletic, and I had this. So I was really putting in all my strength to pull it out, like that, and then Swami was absolutely non-perturbed. He was not even bothered about what is happening down there. He's looking around, and then and boys next to me were watching. What is this guy trying to do? Of course they were all seated next to me, but then nobody had the guts to tell me stop or anything, because Swami is right there. Obviously you can't make a big scene there, right? But I was trying to quickly pull it out so that Swami doesn't trip. I couldn't. I really couldn't take it out. So I gave up, and then I was looking up at Swami, and I was wondering, I was panting, and I had sweat. Then Swami smiled very casually. This is not divine. This is physical, and went away. Just the physical energy is what he had actually used to, it was so funny, of course. But imagine, Swami didn't need to use that divine energy to hold that cable. But it was a lesson that, guys, you can't play around with me, fool around. Simple, humorous, but yeah, many such things. In fact, one other occasion is when, of course, not humorous, but I was praying for, I was not sure which main I had to take. We had three options, especially in MBA. Marketing was the main option, then systems was the second option, then finance was the third option. Of the three options, we had to pick and choose one of the options, and I wasn't sure because I was bad at all three. In fact, I was really bad in general. In fact, there was another experience that Swami said, I gave you grace marks because of which you actually passed, otherwise you would have failed. So, business accounting or some subject like that. Then this was an occasion when I was unable to choose, and the next morning we had to give our option, and I wasn't sure till last day. I kept giving letters, but Swami never paid attention. But suddenly that evening, while playing bhajan, for bhajans, Swami suddenly came and dropped a small piece of paper on which he has written MKTG. A very small piece of paper cut from the corner of an envelope, right? MKTG he has written, and then it just dropped it like that. Fell on my lap, and then I was wondering what happened, and before I could realize, Swami was looking somewhere else. So very sweet experiences, but yes, he has given a wonderful lot of things like that.